Not seeing very Farky in playoffs. That'd be so sad as well.
Yes, our
All of these
top
guys are
laner
looking
of almost every week,
Oh,
it
yeah.
feels like. This man is always doing something, and yes, these three teams just have so much to play for, and have brought their way into our hearts, such as Hyde and Corporal with Hoglet, when it was that beautiful where Corporal was like, no, I am now Hoglet's support.
Yeah.
I must be.
That's why sometimes when I do the team rundown, I'm like, oh, he's the team support. I'm like, yes, the one who plays Yuumi, he definitely is.
Oh.
He lives up to that. Yeah. So it's going to be sad to say goodbye to one of these teams after today, depending whether there's a tiebreaker or not. But all cards on the table right now. I'm really looking forward to this game.
I am indeed too. And as it is, a blast from the past over here on the LJL officially unofficial cast. We will have a very quick countdown of 3, 2, 1, play, and let's get into this.
Okay, so CGA joining us on the blue side here. In the top lane, it's Nap. In the jungle, Yoshi. In the mid lane, Adia, the god, the man, the myth, the legend. In the bot lane, it's Gango, and alongside him, Grendel.
And for the side of AXIZ on the red side, it's Unyan in the top lane, Hoglet in the jungle, Gadiadu in the mid lane, Hyde as their carry, and Corporal bring up the support.
Okay, so we've seen a lot of Olaf today. It's been removed. We've also seen a couple of Yuumi games as well, also removed. On the other side, it's Ornn and Set taken away from Nap for CGA.
Ah, interesting. Nap getting targeted, but no Cho'Gath getting banned.
Yeah, he played. Has he played 3 games of it, 2 games of it? It's not. I thought when he played it in the first time he did, it would have been a bit more prominent, but didn't end up getting picked too much recently. LeBlanc's banned away last by CJ, and Senna last banned by AXIZ.
So does Gango take Aphelios? Is the question.
That's a good question.
Here, right? Like that
That's
should be the. Oh,
Yes.
I do the color thing. Ah!
You're doing it. So yes, obviously both of us by trade are color casters, but I'll be kind of slotting into the play-by-play role a little bit this game, just take over some of the team fights, whereas Lexi will be bringing you his opinions on various happenings about the game. So it's the Misfortune locked in for Hyde. We sort of have a bit of a rough game on the Ezreal, and it's the Aatrox locked in for Unyan straight away. What do you make of these picks?
Okay, so I really like the standard MF pick into Aphelios. It's something we see a lot against Aphelios. MF is also the tier. It's like the tier 3 AD carries that has basically been decided of Aphelios, Senna, and then a little bit further down is Misfortune. Pretty standard. It's interesting that they take away. I'm really not sure about the Aatrox. I always have to say the Aatrox because it's double A for no reason.
T-Rox.
T-Rox. The thing is, I don't really like picking it here. I would have really liked to support here. Loads of options. As we see, Thresh and J4 brought in. Huh. What do you think?
So J4 tends to be this big team fight jungler. He has some early game presence as well. Having the Moonlight Vigil from Aphelios on top of that tends to work pretty nicely.
True.
We've seen Thresh work well in this lane as well. The Lantern gives you the extra shield and the extra mobility, and works for pick as well, because if you land the Graviton route and then into the hook, it's a lot of pick potential there. Nautilus, speaking of hook champions, locked in for Corporal though on AXIZ.
See, I would have much rather they pick the Nautilus or a Thresh up. They had both open to them. Leave the Aatrox. I just don't really like locking in a top laner as your second pick. That just seems so wrong. As we see Echo as a band away from Yoshi, and then we have Hoglet not being allowed to play Rek'Sai.
Okay, I mean, so you know what? So Hoglet in their first 2 games of the split in the first week, both both were on Rek'Sai.
Yep.
In those first 2 games. They've come a long way since then. Hoglet had some pretty weak showings. Whereas on the other side, Adia having Echo and Vladimir removed from him. He's played a bit of Silas in the last week. It could be that coming out of him. LeBlanc in the first round of bans. There's a lot he can still pick, though. We know this guy has a huge champion. Ocean, Elise banned away from Hoglet, though, as their last ban from CGA.
Now the side of AXIZ, I'm really not sure what junglers Hoglet really has open to him here. Like, the current ones that have been taken are the ones that we've mostly seen him on. Lee.
Yeah, okay.
Sin.
He had a good last game on that.
He did.
Okay, so I guess they want to take away the Elise because of the top dive potential.
Yes.
Alongside the Aatrox and stuff.
So strong.
And Aatrox, we've seen Unyan go pretty Super Saiyan on the Aatrox every now and then from AXIZ.
Mm.
Nap might go towards the scaling matchup of the Gangplank. Works pretty well against J4. What do you make of that if they lock it in?
I really actually like the Gangplank. I think it offers a lot of options for the team of CGA, and they're a team that love to have options open to them. The Gangplank allows them to basically have 4 people in the bot lane when it's only 3 of them because of J4 coming in. It's so much like engage but disengage that it gives it, and Nap is a very selfless top laner in my opinion. Arguably one.
He's maybe the most thinking about it.
Yeah, right? So if that's in mind, I think the Gangplank against the Aatrox is a very easy thing. Nap can do the side lane push and do that. As we see Azir locked in for Arya. And
this is like full team fight.
This is team fight where Nap can be AFK doing his thing, trying to play his best Apperman impression, basically. And even though Nap is arguably the other player that really aggressively tries to split push as well.
He does try and do a little bit of that. Unyam we saw try and do that a little bit on the Camille. Didn't work versus DFM as we saw there. We had a very crazy end to a game with AXIZ versus V3 who were trying to split push. As the last pick, though, I have to go and move on to that. Is the Zoe against the Azir in the mid lane from Gadiadu. We saw him have a very back and forth performance against Pyrian's LeBlanc on this champion against Sengoku.
We did.
He's shown some propensity to go back to this pick. It's pretty good into the Azir. How do you think it slots into the team comp versus CGA?
I think my hesitation immediately shows I don't think it's the ideal thing. So I think maybe something like Syndra might have locked in slightly better, because I think you want something which is a little bit more easier CC to land, whereas Zoe has a sleepy bubble, right?
But then you have to play. Then you'd have to play Syndra into J4, which is always a bit nasty.
Oh, it's true.
That's my one reservation with it. I like the thought process, but just the whole Jarvan being a thing makes it hurt.
Is there a better champion than they could have had, which has like a little bit of CC outside of Zoe? Because Zoe obviously has get in, get out, as well as sleepy bubble.
I think she has the range, which is nice. I don't know. It's obviously I think you'd love to have LeBlanc, but that's banned. I think this is why Zoe can pick quite a lot of it, right? It's a good blind pick. It does pretty well into the Azir. Azir having to take the cleanse as well, so no other combat summon or a teleport being taken in there. I think it's a pretty even matchup though, and Arya is.
I think it is.
He's a good player. So it's fun.
One of the best, as we have said, for this region. What is that mid lane matchup? As you are a mid lane, I would like your opinion on the just pure skill matchup that is.
So, Zoe can do a lot of damage from outside of Azir's range, but if she ever uses the portal jump, as in so many different matchups, very close to the Azir, the shuffle comes in and she dies, right?
Yes.
Picking up actually, it's going to be not the cleanse coming through from Audi. He's chosen the heal, as is Gariadu. No cleanse in this matchup might mean that one bubble spells death for our all-star mid laner here.
And I do want to remind all of our listeners, watchers, and just beings that are potentially getting this somehow, if it's aliens from many light years away. This is the LJL Officially Unofficial's Game of the Week. We disagreed with the mainstream, with the official stream, on their decision, because we believe how much this has riding on it.
It does, yeah. No, the value of this match is so high, right? We talk about it every different break. We talk about it coming out to the last two games of the season in terms of the playoff participants and standings. It's not just choosing the shuffling between third and fourth or something. This will determine largely the last playoff spot and the the fifth and sixth places.
It really will, and it's kind of crazy that we've gotten all the way here.
At this point, yeah.
I think well, we've said countless times as nothing's happening at the moment on the map, that AXIZ were the team everyone had already written off. Everyone.
Yes,
we had all put them as our last place team, and then we had all individually tried to find out what people on social media were saying on their power rankings. We were going into Japanese message boards trying to find random stuff. No one penged AXIZ as like a team to probably make playoffs outside of at least 6th place, and they would be the bottom of 6th place at best. Yeah, and look at them now. I'm looking forward to this Twitter.
They're contenders. Yeah. Oh no, the Twitter boom is going to be pretty crazy here if they do manage to get in. We've seen them have really high fan votes as well on the Twitter vote, as you said, the Twitter poll. Even against DFM, it wasn't completely out of sight.
It wasn't. And they were one of the few teams outside of, I think, Sengoku, who are now arguably the second best team in the LJL at the moment.
I think AXIZ, they had that 0-4 start, which has hamstrung them so much. I think that they can go toe-to-toe with the likes of V3 and Sengoku in their right games. I really
agree.
want to see a best-of-season series between them. So I'm hopefully we'll get to see that. But CGA, you know, they have been the montage team. They are the team which love to team fight. They have Gadia and Gango and Adia doing a whole lot of damage in a lot of these late game team fights. Even though it didn't work out for them against Rascal Jesters with that unfortunate late game team fight just the last week, they've shown a lot of good things throughout the split.
Absolutely. I mean, they've shown so many promising opportunities, and I think that's the important word there, promising. Even if they don't make it to playoffs, it would break our hearts a little bit to see it.
But if they came back in summer and still did well, I mean, it'd still be cool.
That's the important thing. This is, we will ask them to prove us wrong, and they have done that in spades. So I'm already so proud of the members of them as... Ooh, Hoglet.
No, so Hoglet was spotted on the zombie ward going into the jungle there. This is a little bit of vertical jungling. All the buffs have been taken, not on the same side. So Hoglet is once again seen by some good early vision control from Grendel. On that thrash down there, it does put down the little trinket ward. Arya's actually diving in towards Gadiadu. There's a Jarvan here too. Oh, and he's going in, uses the heal. The flag and drag is used, but no avail there. It is just the heal alongside the Nimbus cloak. We see the extra movement speed from the W passive there, which gets him out to safety at the cost of only the one summoner. That's a huge Twitter vote. Look at that.
Twitter vote. No one trusts CGA anymore. No one. Everyone's like, nah, we won it. I wonder if maybe the Twitter public are slightly biased and they just want the Cinderella story as much as us.
I think there's so much to be said about that, right? I remember way back in the day, Season 4 EU was super hot crew.
Oh God, yes!
They tried to go for their last EU spot at Worlds. They didn't make it, but what a story it was. SK ended up taking that spot to go to Worlds that year. That's a lot. I'm such a League boomer, man.
God, I mean, that was when I used to watch a lot of pro League of Legends back in those days. Like Season 4 was
fun, man.
Yeah, Season 3, Season 4 is when I watched probably my most outside of this year.
Yoshi here. This is a good 2v2 coming out of CJ.
Hoglet wins this on the 1v1.
Well, he did just go away from the flag and drag there just because he did miss out on a little bit of that damage. Unyan having a rough early laning phase against Nap's Gangplank. He has been, as we've been saying, one of the more solid top laners in the LJL. He's got himself up to about a 15 CS lead already here in the first 5 minutes.
God, that is just phenomenal work from Nap. But we have seen...
He's putting in work.
But I mean, this is the top laner that I said is one, incredibly selfless because they will not ask for resources. Rarely do they even ask for jungle ganks because Yoshi doesn't have to pay Nap too much attention because Nap is very good at winning a 1v1 in a lot of spots. And
we've seen him do that against some very good top laners as well. You know, he did it versus Ray Farkey, I believe.
Yep, he did.
The Cho'Gath versus the Ornn matchup there. You know, he's had some fun games. I'm going to have to look back over his footage there as Unyan puts a ward down to spot out Yoshi there. He'll clear that out. Yoshi having some decent presence in the early game. Obviously got the summon away from Gadiadu, and then had good counter gank onto Hoglet there, trying to break that lane pressure from Nap. It's even early game, I think I would say. What do you think?
I agree. It's very even. There's a slight disparity across the few of these lanes, but I mean, it's nothing where I'm going to be like, oh my god, the game's over. It's slightly ahead. Hyde is slightly ahead in the bot lane, and Unyan slightly behind in the top lane. You just reverse it, so it's fine.
Yeah. Seeing Corporal just roam up here with the recall timing coming out of the MF as well. I think Corporal was out of vision there, but choosing to just move out of the river. Yoshi has been found by the Sonic Wave that is not going to follow it, is Hoglet. They're just clearing out some vision. I think Yoshi has the Flash and Drag available to him. Lanson as well, just getting out of the pit. Vision traded back and forth around this objective. I'm
not entirely sure of Corporal's path, but I think he walked around the front, where you can see there is a blue ward just in front of the red, inside of their turret. So I think he pathed that way, which kind of signaled. But it's such a like the timing. That's Arya's timing, and knows well it'll take him about this long to get here, so we can do it, and then we do that, and then it's just I'm a god.
You know who was really good at that? If you ever saw any of the clips,
our current world champion.
True, FPX are all very good at that as well. But
Sorry.
Tarzan in one of the Twitch rivals things said, I know that this jungler takes an extra 3 seconds to do this route, so I have this time to gank top.
Yes.
These pro players do have that in the back of their minds, and Yoshi right here knows that he's very safe to go towards this blue buff here, maybe even hand it off towards Adia. That would be a big swing in that matchup, as Azir is not going towards the Lost Chapter first. He is going towards the Nash's Tooth, built up the Stinger already.
Yeah, building up that Stinger, really aggressively going for it, but Yoshi having idea of timing. It does look like Hoglet's going to do the standard trade over, but I mean, this.
Can I have an aside there? Gadiadu picked up a redemption, used it on Ernyan's Aatrox there just to give him a bit more HP back. Man.
He's like, mate, I got you. I got you.
Oh man, I tilt so hard every time the Zoe picks up that damn item, man.
It's kind of ridiculous. It does sometimes feel a little bit like they're meant to always have it just in their back pocket, unless they need the flash, because obviously you're going to all in them. You hit all the CC, but they have double flash, and you go, oh, of course,
yeah.
Of course. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have redemption this one time? You're so weak.
Yeah, this is I mean, as much as it is kind of a wave clear matchup between Zoe and Azir in a lot of ways, there are ways it can turn on its head, and both these guys have had some aggressive performances. Hoglet looked to try and start up the Herald there. He's actually still just about leashing it there. It's going to go back to the pit. Grendel has found his way up early. The Hyde is not yet here on the Misfortune, whereas the Aphelios of Gango is. This is getting a little bit tense, but it looks like AXIZ are looking to just pressure out the mid lane. They have a vision control around River so far.
Yeah, and because of this, because the rotation from Hyde and Corporal came out as fast as they could, they can't actually take it. CGA have to just reset and go back around, and now we're going to have an awkward dance around this.
Out of vision, hook misses.
Ooh.
And it is the dance like you were saying there. Gadiadu looking for a bit of a chunk onto Adia, does just go for the minions instead. Has himself a blue buff and a protobelt, hits the sleep, it's going to be a bit of poke. Hoglet is once again going to start up the Herald. Grendel is out of vision. Oh, Corporal is seen. Corporal has level 6, importantly, whereas the box is not available to the Thresh. This is a big choke point that CGA
Onyan's out of vision.
Unyan is out of vision and the fight starts in earnest. The Cataclysm, it goes down, but it's first blood to Hyde there. And the bullet time picks up a second for the Misfortune. It's 2 kills, although I'm trying to see who the Herald went to.
Hoglet.
It did go to Hoglet there on the lead in. It's a big early game swing as the posturing turns up in favor in the red team.
What an insane Misfortune ult from Hyde. That just was
burned him down.
Clean. You know, you get that chef's kiss. You're like, oh, it was just, you just watched it. Half of CGA had to die. Half of them fled in terror from it. As we get to see this gorgeous replay. I love that Hoglet is still staying on this Herald here, not getting scared. Grendel getting up far too close, and then Hyde.
Oh, big combos there.
Oh my god, it's so beautiful. And it zones off Ardio and Gango from even trying to come back at this.
It absolutely did, and it was such a choke point to go through from CGA. They kind of walked in there. It was the only path they had good vision through. They did have the pink ward down there, and it ended up kind of being their downfall a little bit. They could only funnel back through that one direction where Misfortune had put down the ult.
And this is really a good start for the side of AXIZ. AXIZ have been performing across all their lanes. Ernyan is still about 9 CS behind, but that's negligible. You can deal with that. It's against a gangplank. He will scale harder than you, but it's going to take him till that late game to get there, as another hook does miss from Grendel.
You know, there's been some argument that actually Aatrox outscales the GP, particularly. So the one.
Okay.
Do you remember Wicked from CLGEU? Do you remember that?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
His argument is that Gangplank has so much conditional damage in his kit, and it's very hard to play him very optimally in teamfights, whereas Aatrox ends up getting lots of damage down regardless when he builds up to 2-3 items and disrupting the backline. He is more important in late game teamfights than Gangplank is. What do you make of that?
I think the problem with that is that you're expecting a Gangplank to always run into every teamfight that happens, which he doesn't have to. I think the luxury and part of the reason you play Gangplank in a lot of comps is that you can just leave him, and it's very difficult for a lot of champions to effectively kill him in a lot of 1v1 scenarios.
The oranges are so good in that fact.
Exactly. Even a 2v1 against a Gangplank, he can commonly get away in a lot of spots, whereas an Aatrox or an Aatrox always struggles with that sometimes. Yes, he is very comfortable with a 1v1. Even if you come at him for a 2v1, 2-on-1, he can still get away sometimes. It's not a guarantee. And when you have champions on the opposite side...
Okay, no, leading to nothing. You can carry on.
And when you have champions on the other side, I'm going to use this exact example that we're in game. When you have Thresh or J4 against an Aatrox, if you send anyone with that one, so if you had Gango and Grendel try and gang Unyan, Unyan's dead. I'm sorry, late game Unyan's dead. You can't beat a Thresh CC against this.
We'll have to see if that ends up happening in this game, and whether Unyan can end up escaping any of those pretty bad situations that you were labeling there. Herald summoned bot lane, and the sleep landing onto Adia. The heal popped early. Oh, that's a godlike chunk of damage there. Gadiadu putting down the hurt onto the Azir here.
That is some impressive work from Gadiadu, but we've been complimenting him as we do like to do when players do step up and actually really start to pop off, as it would be. And this is against who we have been calling one of the best mid laners of the LJL. And absolutely, Gadiadu is holding his own.
And even on like the off days, quote unquote, for CGA and Adia, Adia has been the guy who's like always been doing well, or at least trying to make the players to get back into the game. I remember the game versus DFM where like the game really fell out of hand. He was still the guy picking up kills. He was still the guy almost 1v1ing Saros and all this other stuff. He has also been maybe like the only person who's consistently carrying, which has been the problem for CGA at some points. They have a lot of very acceptable supporting members. I think Nap is very good secondary carry, as we said. He's a very selfless player, but sometimes you do need the selfish player to pick up and carry the reins of the game. Gango has been that on some days, on other days he hasn't quite managed it. This game now, though, it's very important that they end up figuring out who's carrying when and whether they can do it in team fights.
And so far we are seeing a minor gold lead from the side of AXIZ now. That's about a K.5 I'm going to give them. If we round it up, probably.
Yeah, we'll round up, yeah.
or just a K, because apparently CGA were just able to get a bit more money, so whatever.
Well, they managed to get the plates with that Herald bot lane, which is the important thing.
Yes, they also have that first Drake at the moment, so...
Oh, that is important, yeah.
That is also, yeah. So it's going to be interesting. In 2 minutes, we're getting Infernal Drake, so we're not going to have another Infernal Rift, thankfully. No insane snowball-y stuff happening, but... will be interesting to see how this game continues to progress, as we are hitting another lull point. And when two teams have drafted active team fight
it's a shuffle coming in from Azir here. It's the ultimate coming in from Yoshi as well. The hook from Grendel. That's all she wrote for Gadiadu. Clean engage from Adia there. The man which we've been calling out, having a bit of a rough early lane, but coming through with the first kill of the game from CGA.
That was impeccable. And I really want to compliment Grendel there as well. Grendel landing...
to make it up.
Yeah, landing the Thresh Q, really holding him in place for that extra CC that needed to come in. It might have not actually fully happened if Grendel didn't land that, which is insane to think. That's how slippery a Zoe can actually be.
Can absolutely, with the heal as well, and the move speed you get from the heal, the move speed you get from the Nimbus Cloak, and the Zoe W as well, means that if you're not trapped inside something, which, I mean, the Cataclysm is one of those things,
True.
you had to flash out of that as well, means that you can get away very easily on that champion. We're going to go through the replays, so walk us through it.
So, we see here Gadiadu clearly just farming, having no idea of vision. We see the Azir ult coming through, pushing down. Cataclysm actually working, and then, oh god, the Zoe...
Kind of hooked into the...
into it. Still gets the animation, which I didn't know that's how that worked. You still get to have the pop animation from your, I believe it's her W.
Yes.
Coming through.
The auto attack, yeah.
Yeah, really surprising that happens. But, I mean, didn't matter. Gadiadu was out of any form of hope. But
Absolutely.
We do see AXIZ taking up this Rift Herald, which is a really good spot for them to be. Both objectives taken. Can't have a perfect game, sadly, though, now.
No perfect game, unfortunately. The kill and the Herald's going, the kill going up to CGA. They didn't manage to take any turrets yet. No dragons yet either. But the second Herald, as you were saying, picked up by AXIZ there. It looks like, AXIZ are heading towards this second dragon of the match. It is going to be the Infernal Dragon. There's the hook landing there onto Hoglet. Only going to lead to a chunk, though.
And that's Hoglet. You can't go on Hoglet. Hoglet's still going to output a lot of damage, as Unyan has also rotated down. They really want this objective.
Whereas on the other side of this, if you do manage to kill off the jungler before the objective fight, maybe you can start it up yourself and try and wrangle control over this area of the map. As we're saying this, it is going to be Hoglet and Hyde going onto the dragon. It's a teleport channel from the gangplank, whereas Eunyan has chosen not to go in so far. It's going to be the takeaway by Hoglet there, and the heal coming in. Great bullet time coming in, shredding the health bars. Is Hyde there. Gadiadu not landing anything from the Zoe there, and it is kills going the way of CGA for the cost of the dragon. It's going to be 3. There's not going to be enough to take down Hyde. Actually, Grendel going to lance in Adia here. Flashes forward. It's going to be enough to bring Adia in range for the 4th kill of the fight. Eunyan not teleporting in, maybe costing them a large amount of pressure this game.
Yeah, I really want to see that replay to figure out what happened to Eunyan, because he did walk down to the mid lane. I'm guessing
he had teleport available.
Yeah, I'm guessing he had just walked down, thought that they had it, walked back up, and then the
here's your chance.
All right. Oh no, he's just walked up as Gangplank walks in. Oh, that's really awkward to see. And now this lovely rapid fire misfortune, but then Gadiadu missing that Zoe. I don't think it mattered too much, as I don't think much would have come from that. Moonlight Vigil did come through from Aphelios, but then Grendel just basically says, "Hey, Adia, you want another kill? I got you one, buddy." And then,
I have to say, I'm really liking Grendel's Thresh over the last couple of games. Ooh. I think that he's had, some really good performances on that champion. We've seen a bit on the Nautilus. He tends to have a pretty high death score on that champion when we talk about it.
He does.
But the Thresh he has been very mechanically proficient on. We saw that throwing out the hooks. The Lantern was very good there, securing them a last kill of the game onto Hyde there. The last kill of the fight, rather, not last kill of the game, hopefully for them. It is coming up now to a 2,000 gold lead for CGA, 18.5 minutes into this game. Hoglet is stealing away the red buff. After that dragon, it was taken away by AXIZ. It is going to be the Cloud Rift coming out. Unfortunately, not maybe the best ultimate soul available for AXIZ here, but it still will be a soul nonetheless if they do only get 2 more dragons.
So the only reason I think it can work out in theory for the side of AXIZ is that movement speed bonus. And as these are 2 compositions which are actively looking to team fight each other, and especially with Hoglet looking to probably get an early pick, I wonder, could you almost argue that the idea that AXIZ actually won't hate this, because if they're able to get a pick very quickly on into a team fight and then have to fight a very standard team fight, but it's actually a 5v4, 5v4 for them,
5v4, yeah.
Is that something that they might be trying to now play around, as this is the rift they didn't want, really?
It could certainly work out in some regards. I think particularly Aatrox loves the Cloud Rift. He pops his World Ender, comes in with the move speed from that ultimate, and then the ultimate from the Cloud Soul as well. Herald summoned mid. It's going to be the mid outer turret going down for CGA there. They, of course, took the opposing tower there just after the dragon fight, and Adia managing to stop the second charge there.
Oh, I thought that second charge was going to be through. I was going to be so happy if it did.
The eye was open, and it was slapped shut by Adia on the Azir here, having a huge game. 100% kill participation on the Azir in the mid lane. 3, 0, and 2. Build up to the Nash's Tooth, and he's got a couple of components in inventory as well. He's got a Lost Chapter and the Oblivion Orb.
So one of the big things that we've seen here is Nap has actually been incredibly relevant through any of these team fights so far, or just in critical moments. We haven't seen Eunyan do anything at the moment for these team fights. Bit of lane pressure, I would argue, or maybe a bit of presence pressure, but nothing actually where it's come to kills, assists, or anything of the like. And I wonder if that's going to be a spot that might come to hurt them.
Certainly might do. We did call out that he didn't teleport down to the last fight, even though Eunyan did, teleporting early in on the gangplank. Normally, it's the gangplank which teleports in second, uses the ultimate first for that disengage. Like you were saying, it's like having another member of the map down in that fight, even very early into that game. Yoshi just clearing out some vision around the Baron. It has spawned now, 21 minutes in. We've seen Adia move out to a side lane and Nap on the other side of the map, while this duo lane is holding up the mid lane. We have our battle lines drawn in this crazy matchup for the standings. There is so much riding on it, as we've been talking about. We've reached ourselves a bit of a lull state.
I do have to feel a little bit good, though, for AXIZ. They're not going to have another fastest game done against them, thankfully. I mean...
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the case. At this point, it was almost game over against DFM. This one much more competitive. Even though the gold lead is currently against them, they do have an Essence Reaver and components towards the Infinity Edge built up on Hyde. The Ludens completed for Galliardo and the Black Cleaver completed for Aatrox. These items are all still pretty big for the team fight. In fact, as I say that, the Infinity Edge is completed for Hyde.
That's huge for Hyde. That is a power spike item for a Misfortune. Normally they do sometimes need that third item. Commonly some form of attack speed does help in a lot of spots. Maybe sometimes the extra crit sometimes. Depends on what the comp they're against.
Or, of course, the Bloodthirster is quite prominent on the
Yes, the added damage just to have do
more.
more.
Give me more damage.
Just give me more damage and then my bullet time just kills people. I just start blasting them.
And I just started blasting. Yes, hopefully that is something Hyde will get to do this game. On the other side, it's not the Essence Reaver first from the Aphelios, it's the Infinity Edge. Hoglet has been engaged onto by Yoshi here. Kick flash onto the Jarvan here, who is put right into the middle of the team. The Gangplank ult has been put through onto the side of AXIZ, though. Unyan is finding his way onto the backline. He's just backing off for now. Audi is going for a big combo, slides in, but doesn't find anything. As much as a lot of fireworks are thrown off there, nothing comes through in the way of kills.
No, Unyan was there, but just a little bit too late, as we do see CJ now just taking ownership of this Drake that's just kind of hanging around on his own, minding his own business. No, you have something important to us, sir, and we want it, and we're having it, and you don't get to say anything about it.
They want it, they get it, and they break the dragon streak of AXIZ. Is the first dragon of the game for CGA. They are definitely controlling a lot of the objectives at this point now. They lost both heralds earlier in, but they have picked themselves up, as you were saying, the first dragon for themselves, giving them that 10% ultimate cooldown reduction. Very important for the Gangplank. That is a very big cooldown at all stages of the game, and even with the 20% CDR from the Triforce, it will mean it will be up pretty regularly.
It will be up pretty regularly. The other thing, which is really nice, is basically they'll be set up to always teamfight. Because you've got a Zir, Thresh, J4 over on the side for CGA. Having those ultimates up all the time basically means, okay, we can either always engage or we can always disengage. And you can just just never pick. Whereas on the side for AXIZ, it's a little bit more awkward. Some of these champions don't always need their ultimates, and the ones that do, well, it's only really Misfortune, to be honest.
Absolutely. I think that, we see Yoshi get kicked into the team again by Hoglet there. The sleep lands, the bubble is there for the confirmed kill. It's a death onto Yoshi, and you know, until that just happened, I was about to say that Yoshi had been having a pretty good game for CGA so far. Often a question mark for the team on the blue side in colors and in name as well. Second death of the game over for the jungler for CGA.
Yeah, definitely a few question marks there. Finding our position, maybe doing a little bit too far aggressively in that positioning, and then getting punished from the side of AXIZ, not giving AXIZ respect, or potentially that's just assuming that they're safe, and sadly getting caught out a third time, really. One death before, getting caught out, but having to not die, thankfully, the second time, and then third time paying the price for it.
Will do indeed, and they didn't even have to use the bullet time for that, so that cooldown is still very much available, although there's not really much to fight over as we're talking right now. There's no dragon, obviously no heralds, and no one's got the positioning to start up anything like a Baron attempt, even though the vision has been somewhat traded back and forth between these teams. We do see Hyde, as you were saying earlier, going towards the crit item third. It's not going to be the Bloodthirster or the likes of anything else. Does want a little bit extra attack speed, and one of the other important things is that, I think it was last season, or maybe the season before, one of the other big changes historically to Misfortune is that her ultimate can crit. That is why the crit damage alongside the AD is so important for this champion. It means you don't have to build towards lethality to make that a big team fighting ultimate. You can just build traditional crit and stuff like that, and then wait on the extra attack speed from your strut to really give you a lot of things. It's going to be a hook through. I just have to keep talking, don't I?
Yes.
It's going to be Unyan popping the world ender there, and actually not much else happening about that. I'll shut up for a bit now. What do you think of the current game state?
I mean, this is just a lot of positioning and poising, one team trying to catch the other one out. If we look at those side lanes, they're equally pushing into each other. No one really has an advantage in pushing situations. It's very even. And it's just they're fighting for the sake of, because they don't want to farm, I think. Frankly, both these teams don't need
vision control. It's literally just vision.
It's just vision, and they shouldn't be fighting this aggressively over it. Junglers should just be rotating through their jungles, clearing up, doing their standard thing, while the bot laners or the carries of these teams should be farming. Don't truly get what they're trying to get with all of this. No one can take a Baron.
Well, but actually, just saying about that, CJ, of course, have themselves an AXIZ, and AXIZ is one of the best Baron-taking champions in the game at this point, after he has himself the Nash's Tooth, the attack speed, amongst other things. The Gangplank ult is committed to that fight as well, trying to dissuade AXIZ from walking through, although while CJ were peeling off the Baron. It's going to be a Baron steal from Hoglet, who takes down the Jarvan as well, alongside the bullet time. CJ go way too deep for that Baron, and as you were saying, maybe it was a bad idea to try and start that up.
I mean, I said for Hoglet to do it. I didn't think he actually would do it. That madman comes in, picks it up, and even gets Yoshi dead by doing it, and sacrificing himself. I think that's okay.
He's very happy for that trade in life.
The
bullet time does mean these steals are so likely to happen. Put down the extra damage onto that neutral objective means it can get it down into smite range.
Okay, so I hate using the Gangplank off there just for the idea of, quote, zone. As we... Oh my god, smited perfectly, and then the side of CJ just get absolutely deleted.
At least Hoglet died for the side of AXIZ. I mean, it's it's pittance. It is, because of the gold that comes through. It's a 2,000 Baron buff power play as it stands right now. And of course, they haven't even started pushing on the map. This is a huge swing in pressure for AXIZ. This is probably going to buy them the next dragon as well and
100%.
get them up to Soul Point.
There's no way that the side of CJ can even think of trying to fight a Baroned up team of AXIZ right now. They are so strong right now, and a Misfortune ult, which is almost
off cooldown already.
It's just going to be so difficult to actually stay on top of this. I'm really not sure where. Okay, so as I was saying, I don't think either team should be taking it, and I mean, I was kind of proven right by my...
It was a risk. It was always going to be a risk.
But it wasn't a calculated risk. It just seemed like it was a risk for the sake of doing it. It wasn't like you knew two members of AXIZ were bot lane. It's not like Earnyang and somebody else was mid, and like Earnyang was going to at least commit a teleport.
You grouped the nap with you as well, like you were saying. Not like you've got split push pressure.
They didn't get any ultimates. They barely got any ultimates. They didn't get any summoners for it, and they ended up just giving the Baron over. That was just uncharacteristic of Crest, honestly.
It was a little bit. However, when we talk about the objective teams in the league, it's not normally CG. Oh, that's a big amount of damage coming through onto Gango. Has gone for the GA third item, not stopping for another crit item. Has the Infinity Edge and the Runan's Hurricane. No Essence Reaver picked up for the CDR and the likes of it. Went for more of a survivable build.
I completely missed that, as we should really be comparing these items. I think a very interesting point is the builds that have been coming out for these mid laners almost identical in a lot of argument. Standard needlessly large rod item coming out for both of these teams. One's going for a Morello because I'm Arya and I have lots of gold, so I want to have the very big AP item, whereas obviously we see Gallardo doing a very standard thing. Both of them having Morellos. I wonder what LS thinks about that. I mean, we'll one day have to ask him about all the Morellos picks, and we'll keep playing that meme.
I think when you've got a Death's Dance on the side of Aatrox, having a Morello on the team does help, particularly because there's no healing reduction anywhere else in the team. I mean, you've got an Ignite from Grendel, but that means that Grendel has to be putting that onto Unyan, and he might not be there in the fight. It's also good HP for Alia to kind of stand and start tanking some stuff. The one thing which is kind of weird for me is that Alia has sat on this Lost Chapter and not built it into anything. It's a pretty efficient item on its own component. But he's not building it towards like the Ludens, which Gallardo has built out of it. It's a bit odd, but obviously he's been having a pretty good game, so he's finding ways to do damage regardless of his itemization. And we saw he did shred through that Baron. The problem is, when you're shredding through the Baron where the other team is there, you always do risk a steal.
Yeah, you always are. And like, why? Oh god, that was just...
We're going to be talking about that for a while.
We are!
It's such a risk. And it's a risk in, like, your playoff life situation.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a heavily calculated risk where you're like, well, one, we have all the vision and they have no vision, so they're having to come at this blind, or, oh, we know we're going to get at least a TP out from Earnyang, then we can go back and try and actually do it a few times later. This AXIZ got a huge amount of goldly. Well, they actually
what? 2k gold behind?
Yeah, and now they're arguably a K ahead. That's 3k gold swing for that Baron, which they weren't even fighting for. They got it, arguably through Hoglet being an absolute god at just doing that. That's not the first time this man's done it either.
Absolutely not. And actually, you know one thing about that Baron as well, because there's so much to talk about in it. Hoglet had a 2-level advantage going into the Smite fight. Even if you know that the jungler is also going to have a weaker Smite, and Lee Sin has that resonating strike to have the execute damage alongside that,
True.
It's such a risk. And then we've already talked about the misfortune, the bullet time being so good against a lot of these neutral objectives. You fire it over the wall, brings it down into kill range when the other team is trying to stay off it and make sure that it's not going to be able to be smited away. It's such a risk. And,
so,
it is, yeah.
A point that I want to bring up, as we only have a minute for it, is Baron and Cloud Drake coming up.
At the same time.
Yes, yes. So, with this in mind, I think AXIZ are more than happy to allow CGA to get that Baron, because they get the Dragon, they get the Soul, they stave off, they stave off the Assault. They might have to lose 1 or 2 turrets. I think that's a fine trade, because I think come the late game, they're going to have so much more gold. And these are turrets that they've already taken off of CGA, potentially. All these outer turrets now are gone for CGA. As we see.
Speaking of things being gone, it's going to be the Aatrox ultimate gone as Grendel walks up menacingly, starts throwing out all of his taunts, and starts shouting at the Aatrox. He just kind of runs away with his ultimate running there. Hoglet is going to go push out this bot lane. Had a pretty decent game, had a lot of kick flashes, and of course the Baron steal himself. It's been a good day for the AXIZ jungler.
It has been, and it would actually look like he's not having a good game because of 0, 2, and 3. But this KDA is such a redundant thing to actually look at when you actually think about it, because, well, I mean, it's Lee Sin. You can have a quote bad game on them and still basically hard carry your team, because Lee Sin is one of those junglers.
Well, if he ever gets a kick onto a carry, or a kick which secures a pick into the late game, then, you know, that's his job done. We see him on a flank here as CGA tried to get in around the Baron area. They did secure themselves some vision, but it is AXIZ who are looking to get the mid lane priority. Cloud Dragon has spawned. Baron has spawned. There's a lot of objectives to fight over, and it is going to be that one point in the game where everything is danced around. It's not just a Baron dance, it's a Dragon dance as well. Yoshi just comboing forwards there, but not finding anything thus far.
So, the important thing to remember is someone like Earnyan can solo this Drake very quickly. Exactly what he's doing. And he's doing that right now, as I was just like, I thought this a few seconds ago. You could have had Hyde solo this, or even Hoglet. Gary it would take a fair bit of time, so we wouldn't even count him. And the Corporal, while he'd love to try and do it, no, it's not happening. As they get that Dragon for free.
Yeah, and there was no Baron Force started up there. Sleep lands onto Gango, but it's just going to be that. There's no follow-up damage on top of that. Grendel once again fishing for a hook in the correct positions. I think this Thresh has been a very prominent pick in this game. We've seen him force ultimates out. We find him trying to start off the fights in whatever way possible. The Azir turret has been put up in the mid lane here, but it's not led to anything. All this is doing is buying some space on the map. They're not actually doing anything with it right now. As I say that, they're going to head over towards the Baron again. This has taken them far too long to even start it. We've seen Earnyan basically push this bot lane, start into this. Then there's the stopwatch used there. Hoglet taking a lot of damage. He's dead to Grendel, but it's a huge bullet time, forcing the rest of the team off of that objective. Earnyan is in the backline. Yoshi is low. Adia is low. The Emperor's Divide used very early, but Earnyan has been taking so low, and he goes down to his own death stance burn. The dance ends there for the top laner. It's a back and forth fight. 2 people dead from each side right now. Adia is dead to Hyde. There are summoners lying all around for Gadiato. He has flashes. He has heals. He's going to keep moving forward as well. Gango will get out with his life. At the end of the day, it is a 2 for 3 for the side of CGA.
AXIZ,
the side of AXIZ coming out on the front of that.
Could take this Baron if they really wanted to.
Well, with no junglers available, maybe they think it's a little bit too much of a risk. With no one really there, maybe they could have tanked it with Corporal, like you're saying, on the Nautilus there. But it is going to be just the fight. It's just going to be the kills and maybe a bit of vision control after this. Walk us through the replay. Okay, so obviously we see here Grendel getting the hook on Hoglet. Very standard. Sadly falling to it even after using the blast plants. We do see an incredible misfortune coming through, basically moving everybody off of that as Earnyan comes in. Adia just getting completely zoned. Earnyan not having that slightly more resilience that he's normally used to at this point in the game, as due to the build he's gone through. As Corporal is just so tanky and so good at disengaging. Hyde then, look at that flash coming through. Oh my god, the Strut getting procced, so much damage, and Nap and Gango just have to run away. So impressive. The blue buff also going over to AXIZ. Just all of the value. Yeah, they run to the hills. They do make it out with their lives, and Aria was shut down for his first
Hyde is
death of the game.
5-1-2, having the game of his life in the
It is
playoffs.
such a huge. He's got himself a rapid fire cannon, a bloodthirster, and a Maw of Malmortius on top of the 2 core crit items for the AD carry of Misfortune, in a position to really maybe win themselves their playoff spot with 1 well-placed bullet time. He's been having a hell of a game so far, as you've been saying. I want to see him close it out with style if they are going to win this game, but CJ have a lot to say about that before this game's over.
They will have a lot to say about it, but currently as it's sitting, all of the outer turrets are still intact for the team of, for the side of AXIZ, and they are now over 2k ahead, almost 3k. Yoshi and Hoglet just doing a gentleman's agreement.
Cataclysm here. It's going to be the Gangplank ultimate committed. It's going to be the Aphelios ult committed. Corporal is stuck in the front line here, and he just can't tank up nearly enough, even with the stone plate running. It's just the 1 kill over towards CGA, and it is 4 ultimates committed for it. The sleep lands, but I think that's going to be all she wrote. Nap taking a little bit of a love tap there from Hyde. I think that's going to be the end of this little fight.
The thing is, the ults coming over for the side of AXIZ are almost already up. That's how quick they do come up. By the time that Corporal does revive, his ultimate will already be back up and ready for another team fight. Though that was very unfortunate by Corporal. We haven't seen him actually doing many of these positioning mistakes, and that was slightly
forced to re-engage there. Because when you've got 2 people stuck in a Cataclysm, you're like, okay, let's shift the fight away from the people stuck in the Cataclysm. But that time, even with the stone plate, Nap is putting out a lot of damage in these games.
Really is.
Right now. Those barrels land, and anyone stood there is pretty much going to die. Because they're going to be slowed afterwards after taking the chunk as well.
Yeah, and that's just a lot of damage coming out very quickly, and that's what Gangplank does. That's why he scales so well. As we do see this goal difference, that's how close this game is. It's only really been about 2 to 3k either way. One, that's very close, and as we come further and further into this late game, it only makes it less and less impactful, truly, as builds will be completed, as it does look like Hyde has actually just fully finished his build already.
Yeah, he's at full items. The good thing about this means that, of course, he's very strong. The bad thing about this is that everyone else is going to catch up to him the longer this game goes, because, of course, he can't get any stronger. We see that there are 4 items completed for Gango alongside his boots as well, and he has the Executioners in his inventory as well, so he will be able to cut through a lot of that healing from the Bloodthirster on Hyde, and then, of course, the Death Stance and Aatrox's natural healing as a champion. Wow, I'm really impressed that, I think it was Aria? Oh, no, it was Nap, just knowing that, Eunyan, if I was Eunyan, where would I be? Ah, that's where I would put that ward. Place it and immediately spots him. Eunyan's like, huh, you can almost see the champion move in a way where you're like, okay, fine. Spots out the little blue trinket there, does he? Clears it out, and Eunyan is still sat on the bottom side of this map. He has a teleport available to him, but no particularly good flanking walls. Hoglet is positioning here, but Yoshi is also doing the same. He's in a good position if he knows they're there, but he isn't going to pull the trigger just yet. One bad team fight could still spell the game for either team, and neither of these teams want to give up the game in the last week, which could determine their playoffs participation. Okay, so it all relies, really, if you look at it, all upon Yoshi, Hoglet, or Gariaru. We're talking about Yoshi. He's going in very early into this fight. It's going to be the Cataclysm and the Gangplank ult. Gariaru missing the combo. Oh, Hoglet! Hoglet is going to be put into his GA, whereas Azir is just deleted. Hyde is on the back line here, but then it's also Gango trying to do some damage against him. He's put into his GA, and in the battle of the AD carries, it's going to be Hyde that is not hiding. He's going to be showing himself loud and clear here. No hiding for the AD carry of CGA, though. As he goes down, this could be the game and AXIZ into playoffs. That is a 3-for-0. These death timers are very long. Gango and Aria aren't up for over 30 seconds either way. That's a lot of damage coming through for AXIZ and Hyde. Oh my god. This is going to be the game. AXIZ are going to finish this split at 6 and 8 if they do finish this. Hoglet going low, no GA this time, but he gets out. It's going to, Nap doesn't have enough damage. The Nexus is falling and AXIZ, welcome to playoffs. What just happened?
Oh my god, we just saw AXIZ beat CGA! Look at the happiness on these players. You can see how much it means to them. GG. Well played. This is a team that has struggled for so long. And you can see how much these players, how much they're hugging, how much of a brotherhood they have become. And you can also see that on social media. They love joking around and... Oh my god, that's their manager, truly.
Unyan there. I think there are some tears involved. There's definitely a lot of relief. You see the smiles on the faces. They're gonna finish off in at least 6th place now. I think they can tie for 6th if CGA do end up winning their next game. And on the other side, speaking of CGA, they now have to go on to the last game of the day, and if they don't win, they are faced with a tiebreaker scenario.
Yeah, hello, welcome back to the desk here. Alex, otherwise known as Lexi, go by Muscle on the internet. Of course, we're joined by the insatiable Alex Hapgood, otherwise known as Nymera. We've actually experienced the Cinderella story, and we got to see how much those players, how much that all meant to just not them, but the staff all coming out running and really congratulating them. I mean, we didn't expect it, but them making playoffs, that... You can't help but just feel happy for them, and that just is like such a feel-good moment.
It is, and you know, like of course, there's happiness for one team means sadness for another, but we will focus on the good time for now, though, because they do deserve it. AXIZ, they have picked up now with that win the same amount of wins they did the entire year last year, and they now have playoffs games to go as well. And that's a crazy thought, right?
That is
last year
crazy.
it was the top 3 teams that go into playoffs. It's now the top 6. They have made it into that select few. They will have a best-of series against another team. We'll see what the final standings are at the end of the day.
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this team in playoffs.
I mean, none of us expected it, and that is no form of offense to the side of CGA. That's just, they were the underdogs coming into this by a very big mile, but we got to see every member at one point or another truly bring out something that you all think you have inside you, right? That's why they're a professional League of Legends player. You know you're good.
Is it the power of friendship?
Maybe. We got to see the power of how much that friendship had brought them. It's got them minimum 6th place, potentially even 5th place, because I think it works on teams who first get in, then they get the highest seeding when it's similar. We'll have to figure that out on the...
Just based on wins, if CGA lose their next game, then they cannot match the 6 wins of AXIZ, and therefore they will be... either them or Burning Core, depending on who wins the tiebreaker, will be the 6th place team. AXIZ will have secured at least 5th. I'm trying to remember.
And if CGA win, we'll find out when it comes to the final standings and how the LJL do choose it. But we'll come right back after this very quick break, because we should go for a break, even though we could keep gushing over AXIZ for everything that we've just witnessed and experienced. But we're gonna go for a very quick break. And we will return for our 4th and final game and our last game
of the regular split.
Of the regular split for the Spring 2020 LJL series. And that's going to be CGA facing off against V3. Thank you so much for watching.